Hi everybody, Corrie here coming in to do my channel message for the week of, is this like the last week of February? Oh, it's a leap year. So we have one more day. So this is the 23rd. So it'll follow us all the way into the beginning of March. This is a leap year. We have 28 days in February this year. And so this message is to be taken as entertainment, but it is channeling through the energy that we are existing within right now. Yesterday we had the 222. So we had the 222s coming in. We had the power of two. We had gates closing, doors closing to the old, to the past, to being able to, run to get your way through that, to not be left behind, to not to let ourselves be in that old energy, to make some shifts and changes. And we're in the beginning of like this evolutionary energy of change. Even our physical bodies, our minds, our heart, everything that is within us. So if you're feeling the pressure, if you're feeling this like energy, is that how much of the past are you still staying in? How much have you not let go of? What do you need to still let go of? What needs to be freed from your own heart? It is a time to live from our hearts, to be in our heart, and to also open up our eyes and our minds to perspectives, to changes and views, and to not to be so limited in our ability to be able to see. The beauty of being able to see beyond is to see spirit and to see it from the place of spirit, and to not to be so caught up in human emotions. Human emotions are real. They do need validating, but many come from our thoughts, and we create our own stories. And so we say, I have to know the story before I let it affect and become a part of a fear story, or allowing fear to ride over faith. And so knowing there is some real changes coming down, there's some real changes happening, and we have some real stories that are existing in this evolutionary change that do matter and do count, and are something that we should not be ignoring and neglecting, that is happening within our world right now. There is major things that are happening that are trying to distract us from seeing the important things. So what I would say, what's happening in the big world, bring it into yourself. What are you doing to distract yourself from the things that you need to put your focus into? And so this morning for me, a lot of emotional stories were not coming up in my own emotions, but living in a different body. And what I got as I slept last night was the existence of you are, and I kept hearing it, you are now in your joy body. You're not in your pain body. You're in your joy body. And so when you can see that sense of yourself and see yourself existing in, my nose is itchy with that. Spirit is touching my nose. A little giggle came with that. And so when you see yourself, and I just added on another chapter into my second book, and I wrote about seeing this woman sitting on the couch. I'm like, I'm fucking sick of her. I'm sick of seeing her. And I didn't have the final words to be able to bring it together. And it truly was the words of, this is the self, the pain self that I have been feeding and I had been living in, and not even being aware of how powerful that it had been. And so we do that because we only see that one dimension, that one world, and you live in that world and you create everything from that world. So that pain body is that sense of, what are we not expressing, what is not being expressed. So yes, those people who, there's a support and against that, were expressing themselves and their emotions and standing up and standing in their truth, and saying, this is not right. It's affecting our lives. They have a real truth and a real story, as do the people who are affected on the other side, that are having, to be in the inconvenience of that. But our whole lives have been inconvenienced, and we've all been divided in a big way. And what it was playing on, it was playing on our fear stories, our fear body, our pain. And so it's been triggering the previous experiences and moments within our lives that have been impacted and affected by these things. It's funny how only when it serves us do we go into support of it sometimes. And it's like it's not, when we're affected, when it drives us into a place in our pain body or our hurt or our old experiences, then we take that conviction and that stand. And then when it's not, we're like, oh, well, that's not true, that real. But where in your life have you had to stand in that energy and stand in that truth, and know that on the other side of that, it impacts and affects people in different ways. And so it happens to us all. We've all been in it. We all exist within it, and it is within our own world. Pause to close the blind. The sun is shining on me. And so it was, existing in my joy body and now in this joy body, who am I in this joy body? How do I become? And it was in that pure light energy. And so as I bring in that energy and as we pull in that energy of existing in that, we believe that self. So that self that was sitting on the couch, I believe that to be my truth and my person and who I was. And it's a self that you identify with. But when you can look at yourself and you can see that, you're talking about yourself in two, like there's this self and there's that self, this part of me, that part of me, when I'm like this, when I'm like that, it goes to show that you are actually away from yourself. The power of the greatness of the I am is the connection to the self that is empty and free of that suffering, that is not letting itself be in that suffering and telling itself the stories. So when we have a collective energy and we get in a collective pain story, and like it could be a feminine, it could be a masculine story, then it affects and impacts so many more. And so when we start to mistake our pain self, our fear self, those emotions as our truth, then we exist in the secondary energy of that, and we allow ourselves to respond from that place. So you're responding, reacting in that energy. So what we're being told is that from the place of spirit and not human emotional or human and energetic connection, is that if you come in with a pure heart, a pure thought, clarity, and you can clear out that's where we come into that place of allowing what we call the God consciousness, the Christ consciousness, the awareness of something that is outside of ourselves, that is greater than our own thoughts, that we allow our own thoughts to be overpowered and overtaken by the clarity of the white light energy that stops us in our tracks, that makes us look in to become clear and gain clarity and realize how in a pain body, you actually feed that. You feed that with your thoughts. You feed that by passing on the pain to another, by using that emotional, by doing stuff, by taking action and taking steps that will allow the prophecy of you to return into that pain body and say, they did this to me, this did that to me, this is happening to me, this is happening to me, this is my existence. If I didn't do this, I wouldn't be in this situation, but why did you do it? And why did that happen? Why did that happen in your world? And so there's a lot of that energy that's at play as we are exploring and we are evolving and being kind of lifted out of the old bodies and the old stories, leaving behind some of that hurt stories, some of that old energy, trying to find ourselves in this way. And I read this beautiful quote. I can't remember who it's by or what I was even reading on, but it actually said, and it came from somebody who was like a musician or something. And the quote was something like, somebody said to her, like, you didn't do much in an era or a time in keeping up with your celebrity status. And basically what she said was, well, I wasn't a celebrity. I was just going to work. I was just doing my job. You made me a celebrity. You turned me into this identity, and then this character, and then this role that you expect me to be. And then I'm supposed to live up to this status. And I'm supposed to live up to that. But all I was doing was going to work, doing my thing that I loved and my passion, and sharing some of my passion and my creativity with the world, because I'm actually, an artist and I'm doing this artistic work, just like, so it's just like being any other job or any other role that you play, but somebody else creates that sense of identity of who they think you are. And I've really come into that in this energy of my own, and recognizing that is that everything that somebody else says of you or who someone thinks you are is all based on the identity in the story that they're creating, so that they can either make you an enemy, make you the cause of their pain, make you responsible for, make you this, or be the one of what they think they're chasing and they compete with and they try to be. So if you're following that world, that fake, false Jezebel light, that power of that light, is that then you create a story within yourself of a falsehood that then you try to exist within in your own life. And we do the same thing with the God energy. We do the same thing with the Jesus and the holy realm and all of those. Is that religion and churches that takes it, claims it, turns them into something they never were. Same with the goddess energy and the God energy, It's all the parables and stories and fairy tales and mystical things that is created that then turns people into something that is the ideology that is created. So ideology is created from that sense of somebody takes a story, takes an image, a picture, and creates somebody into something that serves their need to make somebody an enemy or to make somebody out to be something else they're not. And all most people are doing is just trying to show up in the world, just trying to be of service to the highest good, of service to whatever, to our jobs, to the work that we do, to being able to share, to be. And so it's really truly about allowing our vision, our perspectives, our views to calm the fuck down, to really truly get out of that ego and that place of judgment and criticism and criticizing, and really truly stop and think, what am I really seeing? And what am I seeing of myself? And what roles have I put myself in where I've thought I had to be something I don't need to be? And how much pressure have I put on myself? And then staying in unhealthy environments and situations and allowing yourself to be in that depressed energy and to not be able to, let that all that suppressed come out in expression. And then other people do it to other people. And then, not being able to be our truth and be that energy. And then you fall into that expectation and to be that. And so when do we get to express our truth? Or when do we start to look at, well, when do we be of service to our own light that exists within, and stop trying to be of service to the ego and to the identity? And when can we not stand on our own merits? And I'm going to call this out on leaders. Why can you not stand on your own merit if you're so good at what you do and you're doing everything for the right reason? Why do you use manipulation and use this type of story to then to turn people into something they're probably not? Why do we not stand in that? So standing in your own merit, standing in your own truth, and standing in your own light, and allowing that authentic selves to be seen. It's so important as we move forward, and to do that in our own lives. What we hate the most about what we see in the world is things that we also have within ourselves. So we're quick to jump on bandwagons and be keyboard warriors into what we see wrong with the world and how we see people doing so wrong, and how we're so quick to label and to identify people a certain way. Well, we have to look into ourselves, and we have to look really deep. And it's time for us to take that journey. It's time for us to be able to move beyond, because all that is doing is feeding the pain stories. It's feeding the misery, it's feeding the fear, it's feeding the anger, it's feeding the hurt. And then it's responding, reacting with resentment, judgment, hate, all of those things that are such low vibrating energy. And we're here to evolve beyond that now. We're here to rise our hearts and our energy into what about the good archetypes? What about the good archetypes? Wow, there's a whole pile of them. What about the good emotions? Wow, there's a whole pile of them. What about the joy body? What about the happiness code? What about the love code? What about, taking people and just letting them be people and moving beyond all of that that's been created? How many people have had a shitty story made up about them in your lives? But then you're quick to jump on and make up another shitty story and let another shitty story allow you to have an emotional story about somebody. How many things have you done that you said, oh, I'm doing this from the bottom of my heart, and then you resent them later, and then you create a resent story, and then you got an anger story, and then you got a mad story, and then you're feeding into the pain again. It is really truly time for us to evolve beyond that, for us to grow beyond that. It is time for us to look at the importance of our own self-expression, how we're expressing our words, our thought, the energy behind our words, how we're acting, how we're responding. And it's time for us to be in a sense of maturing, to know that the children are effing watching us. It is time for us to evolve beyond that as a society, as a culture, as a world. And that it's time for us to emotionally, spiritually mature, evolve, and for us to step into that energy of, as a world, as society, to take ownership and responsibility for the own actions, for the own change, but also to hold that accountability to that higher up energy, that if you are to be a leader, that you lead by faith and lead by joy and love, and not by fear, not by manipulating energy and manipulating the people you're supposed to serve. Because ultimately, I hate to have to tell you leaders what you are employees. It is your job. It is your job. It's a job you took on and you get paid extremely well to do them. And so it's time for you to step up the ante and for you to be the leaders that are needed and to be those people. And that's coming straight from up here. That's not coming from any other place other than knowing that if we want to see a change in the world, it also takes that our leaders become those change, because we have a lot of world issues and things that are happening. We have a lot that's coming into change, and we also have a lot that's going to be unfolding. We have a lot of secrets coming out. We have a lot of things that are really truly showing and exposing sides of people. And it's like, if you don't want to look and you don't want to see, then you can always live in that, live blindsided, right? But when we're a lover of only living in one story, we're always going to be living in the story with the devil, right? It's like that devil story that we just, the devil that you know, or the one that you don't know. And so there is that sense of, oh, this is my truth. But do you ever look at the other side? No, I don't want to see anything. I don't want to know anything else. Well, then you will always be living in a lie. And you'll be living in that conviction, and you'll always be fighting for the lies. And if you're always fighting for the lies, you'll always be just existing. And so, there's a lot more to the story. There's a lot more to be exposed. There's a lot more to be seen. And so we're allowing ourselves to be in that blind spot, in that blind energy. Is that then when something big unfolds, which something big is going to unfold, I'm going to tell you that there is big things that are unfolding. There's big things that are happening. There's big things going to be coming. And as we start to see it unfold, we're going to be saying, oh, I guess it wasn't, I guess maybe that wasn't as, those people weren't as bad, or those things weren't as bad. And there is great judgment. And the judgment that's upon us is about transformation. It's us transforming our energy or thought, moving into that joy energy. And so with that comes celebration, with that comes love, with that comes happiness, with that comes back into this energy of being able to bring back together. And so building bridges right now of between our emotions and our higher self, stepping into that, also building the bridge between us and spirit world, and connecting back to spirit, connecting back to faith and hope, and stepping into that childlike energy that allows us to have laughter in our heart and glow in our eyes, that brings us back into not existing in the pain stories, to not to let the anxieties, the worries and fears, because there's greater wisdom that's coming in that's saying that, we may be trapped in some of this energy, or you may feel like you're trapped, but you're not. Turn it all off. If nobody is getting attention, like the media, like the owners of the big social media, if everybody's not getting attention, what are they going to feed off? What are they going to feed off? If they can't feed off of us, what are they going to feed off? Right. And yeah. And so that's truly about us getting back out into nature, back out into life, surrendering into, just bowing down, bowing out, and just saying, you know what, I'm done. You can contribute to be angry, and you can contribute to that, but we're all going back to living in sharing love and light and being friendly and kind to each other. We're going to go back to being those people. And you can be in your fight story all you want, and you can even take credit for the greatness. We don't care. But we're going to start living our lives, and we're going to start living from that place. And we have the lovers cards coming up. So the lover card is coming in. And so the lovers card is coming in and just saying, you know what, this is time for us to fall back into love with living, fall back into love with life, with nature, with the beautiful things, to open up our hearts to receiving, to open up our hearts to all the love and light, and to that pure light energy that's out there, that pure love energy, to not to be waiting for this world to become the world that we want it to be in the hands of other people, but for us to be that within ourselves, to bring that back into our lives, to live in that place, and to bring that in, and to take that stand for you of love and light, and just say, I'm choosing this path. I'm choosing to go this way. I'm choosing to step into a joy body, a happy body, something that just aligns more with me and my life and my truth, and creating that in my own world. And that's your message for this week. I hope it resonates with you. Much, much love. Have a beautiful week, and I will see you next week. Much love. Bye-bye.